Well, good evening, folks. I do trust you're well. I hope so. If you're not well, get better. Quick. We need you. We need you to subscribe if you haven't done so already. How about that? Well, then my subscriber numbers are being freaked around with, apparently. Anyway, I really don't care. But I'd appreciate it if you haven't done so already. Please do. It gives you some indication of who's watching. The important people have subscribed, so don't get left behind. This video, bit of an eclectic mix as normal, more conversational than anything, and certain points I want to raise and maybe get your feedback from. And feedback for me is really important. It takes you 2 minutes to do, and these videos take an average of half an hour of my time for your entertainment, hopefully, and a bit of education, hopefully, and maybe you're doing the ironing or, whatever you're doing as you listen to my rantings. I try to make them interesting from my perspective. I live in UK, and I'm a healthcare professional, so we'll leave it at that. So, with that said then, without further ado, as they say, I'll do. It seems that there is a huge movement on this earth, or those 1%ers who control us, the hidden hand, if you like, is to turn every country on this plane of existence into a fascist / communist dictatorship. And we know who the dictators want to be. And fascism and dictatorship and communism, dictatorship, come in many, many guises. Inch by inch we go metric, and you have to think about that one, I'm afraid. But slowly but surely, in our everyday society, we have become less liberal. I'm not a great liberal in the political sense. I think there should be base rules and base rules for decency and law. And you step out of line of those and you're going to face the consequences, that's all. I also believe in the death sentence. And you take a life, yours is going to be taken. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It seems to work well in many countries. I really don't care whether it is perceived as not working by those people who say, well, even in America they have the death sentence. Well, I know. And it doesn't seem to work, I know. But the ones out there that kill other people and maim and hurt and destroy other people, it's hard, you see, for the powers to be to enforce such laws of management of murderers and paedophiles and psychopaths amongst us, when our leaders are exactly that. Paedophiles, murderers, corrupt on the take, psychopaths absolutely, and Satanists. Those 5 things are exactly what the leaders of our countries are. And they wouldn't know the truth if it come up and bit them in the ass. Because they're the qualifications to get on in this world, it seems. Are you a psychopath? Absolutely. Can't get enough of it. What about Satanism? Oh, I love it. I've loved him since I was born. Okay. You ever killed anyone? I've got a few in mind. Just biding my time, Your Honour. Very good. What about being into little boys? Oh, yes. Nothing like a little boy. Forget the girls. Little boys are where it's at, particularly. And sacrifices. Oh, yeah, obviously I've done a lot of Satanism and, worship, and we often sacrifice. Oh, you got the job. Yeah. So, if you're gay, you're a psychopath, you're a murderer, or you arrange murders of other people. That's better. Get other people to do the dirty work. Okay. You like sex slaves, you like paedophilia, and you like Satanism and sacrificial rituals. You're in with a chance, folks. Anybody outside that bracket, become a worker bee. like you and I. That's all. And I'm not prepared to sell my soul, thanks very much, because it's my most valued possession. I would sell it for my family if it meant it, but maybe, let's hope it won't come to that. I talked about the rise of communism. Well, it's happening, folks. It's like watching a seed grow. If you watch it every day, you don't see it. But eventually it pops its little head out. Hello, real world. A little shoot starts to come up. And if you watch it every day, minute by minute, you won't see much movement. But if you go back to it once a week after it's been watered once a week, of course, suddenly you think, bloody hell, it's grown since last week. You see, it's got to be gradual. If you do it too quick, people will notice. Well, we're starting to notice, aren't we? Because now, you see, they've got to such a point, these arseholes, where they don't care whether we notice or not, because they've reached critical mass. And I don't think there's any turning the clock back on this one. And that is why, Luke, we are destined for failure on this earth. We will ultimately be a nation or a world controlled by a centralized dictatorship, one world army, yada, 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 you know the rest. One of the stepping stones that I want to highlight in this video has got to be the security services. We've already got in Britain, the highest surveilled country in the world, by the way, Great Britain. We have more cameras upon us every day, and it's increasing exponentially. The average person out there, you, me, if you're in UK, is probably on video 30 to 50 times a day, depending on our general walk around. If we're out there, train station, airport, work, car park, shopping centres, they've got you. And they've got you, my friend. They've got your profile, you just don't know. Did you give them permission? No, absolutely not. Did you sign a model release form because they're taking your photograph? No. But they've got you. You often wonder how. You go into airport security. Another den of iniquity for paedophiles and kiddie fiddlers, because that's one of the qualities and specialist requirements on the CVs, is that, are you into kiddie fiddling? Do you like putting your hands down children's pants and fondling females, unencumbered, and little boys, of course? Oh yes, you're in. You might get promoted. Well, going to any airport nowadays, and I do a lot of air travel, sadly, of late. And 9 times out of 10, because I'm on business, I carry a very small bag, usually an overnighter. And but what I don't get is this: when I'm going to go and post a parcel or a big letter, bit of a puffy, jiffy envelope one, the postmaster, the guy behind the counter, gets it off me and slides it between this sheet of perspex with a slot in it. And if it doesn't go through, he'll say, "It has to go parcel force, my old son. It's too big to go through the slot." Okay, more money, okay. And it becomes a parcel instead of a letter, because it's exceeded the allowed slot. But nothing pisses me off more than getting on an aeroplane, maybe just for a quick trip to Amsterdam, to pick up a connection flight to Europe, the rest of Europe, and we spend an inordinate amount of time frigging around instead of just getting on the bloody aeroplane and sitting down and putting your belt on and shutting your trap and waiting for the thing to take off. It's bad enough having to listen to the stewardesses 5 times a bloody week talking about putting on your life dress. It's ridiculous, isn't it? As though a life jacket is going to save your life when you're plummeting to your death at 500 miles an hour. Your wings hung off. It's really going to, How often have you seen a plane crash where there's survivors nowadays bobbing around on their little life jackets? Well, come on. You may as well put your head between your knees and kiss your ass goodbye anyway. Especially if the thing gives up at 36,000 feet. Yeah, suck the lungs right out of you. But no, I sit there and I watch these people allegedly on day trips, believe it or not, or weekends, or coming back from the weekends, or going to for the week, with a case that they really should have put in the hold of the aircraft, because it's borderline bloody big. And they wrestle and they push around and shove everybody else's smaller bags out the way to facilitate them ramming and jamming and pushing their oversized bloody bag on. And now, on my trip back from Denmark, the airline had the temerity to say to everybody waiting who was legal, i.e. my case was relatively small and within the limits, the arseholes that turn up with oversized bags that didn't check them in for baggage try to gain an inch or 2 or 3, some cases are big. They might not be very big, but they're bloody wide, or fat. That case that he's carrying is supposed to be cabin baggage. He's gonna have to hoik it up above the seat and it's so heavy and bash, shoving everybody's out the way and compressing it in order for him or her to get it on and Well, they had the temerity on the flight that I came back from Denmark the other week to say those passengers who can, because of the excess amount of baggage, by the idiots that are trying to avoid having to go to the baggage collection after they land, trying to get it on the cabin of the aircraft, expect everyone else to facilitate their bag going up, and hi, me, who's got a mobile case on wheels, a business one, a black business case with a handle that I can pull along the street, perfectly within the size, has to put it in under the seat in front of the person sat opposite me, under there, where I should be able to put my bloody feet. And this is happening a lot. I don't think it should be stopped. But don't you say anything. This is KLM for you. Dutch Airlines, Royal Dutch Airlines, KLM. They're far too liberal. They should basically have these things tested for size. And if it doesn't fit in the square when you're checking in your ticket, but people are doing online checking now, you see, so you don't have to queue up and give your ticket and they check your passport all in one go. Got rid of those people, just made it fully automated. But now that means that the arseholes with the bigger cases can slip through the net. Oh yeah, straight into the cabin with an oversized bag, pissing everyone else off. I'd be curious to see if you've experienced this. It's driving me nuts. I dislike air travel immensely nowadays. I can't stand mixing with the peasants. To be honest, I'm becoming very xenophobic. I don't like other people, and certainly not many foreigners, quite frankly, because they're not me. They're not, I don't want to talk to them. I sit there and I really don't want to strike up conversations with Joe Soap Public. I know that sounds awful and snobby, but you're different. You and I could have a talk for hours, but not with the plebs I end up sitting next to on aeroplanes. I always get the weirdos. But to make matters worse, folks, before I even get that far, I have to queue up the contents of my bag on full display to those around me. And get this, I have a clear polythene bag and I put any liquid like aftershave in there in the bottle, and with any medications and toothpaste. Okay, you never know, you see, when that stuff's going to explode and take the aeroplane down. Of course not. And then anything else. Oh yes, I have to take my shoes off and my belt. I have no idea why they have us to do that. Well, I can suspect it's the shoe bomber, which was a CIA plant. It was just to piss us off. It is a complete, we do it because we can moment. Take your belt off. Why? It doesn't contain a bomb or drugs or weapons, okay? It's a belt. It holds my bloody trousers up. No, take off your belt, sir. Off your belt. It's got metal. And the bloody aeroplane's made of metal. Oh, Jesus. Do you take your belt off? And then what do they have you do? You go through this thing that gives you microwave technology. It's spraying you with microwaves as you walk through this barrier. And then you know, if you get frisked by some pervy, I mean, come on. Now, look, folks. Then they give you a big frisk down, and maybe they'll take your kid off you and move it to one side, and you'll get the local. He's got his gloves on. He's surprised he hasn't got his KY jelly up his fingers, and he's frisking all over your wife or children, and you know, backhanding over your breast or over your testicles or round your bottom, as though that makes the blindest bit of difference. He's still physically touching my ass, backhand or forward. You know, and it's the same with children, these kiddie fiddlers. They're perfect recruits, though, paedophiles for air support, checking and security, aren't they? They've got a look about them. The rubber gloves says it all. Do you know what I mean? And they take the psycho face when they're doing it as well. And then they strip your bag open, and did you pack this up? Well, who else packed it, for Christ's sake? Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper, by the way, was a girl, okay, not a man. It was Jill, not Jack, for another video. Anyway, cut a long story short then, we've got the kiddie fiddlers. But I've got to be honest, I just think, well, what's the whole point of this? You see, what's the whole point? We're sat on an aeroplane with a few thousand gallons of high-octane fuel in that wing and under the belly in some planes. You know, and it's a fire hazard, security risk, bomb risk. But look, you know, I didn't. They searched me and they found a pencil. There we are. There's my pencil. Okay, I carry a pencil and a pen. There we are. A nice one, actually, very nice. And I haven't got a gun or a knife or any other weapon when I get on a plane, but I can have a pocket full of pencils and a pocket full of pens, because I like pens and pencils. But if I had a view to hijacking an aeroplane, which is the big thing, do you remember, the 70s and 80s and 90s were all very hijackable areas, I'd jump out in the middle as she's saying, tea or coffee, sir? Or the guy, tea, sir, or what? And do you want coffee? Just give us a can of lemonade, will you, and shut your trap. You get why is it a prerequisite when you're air steward, not stewardess, an air steward, to be gay? Cabins are that way and that way. Emergency stores, you think, oh, for God's sake, it's a shirt lifter. I shouldn't be like this. I'm very homophobic. And I'm not into the gay community, I'm afraid. It's just, you know, if you're gay, fine, just keep it to yourself. Stop overdoing it. You're over-egging the pudding. You know, we all know you're a shirt lifter and you're a deviant. I got no time for gay people, sadly. I don't. I think they should be just kept well away from the general public and put on an island somewhere. But there we are. There's my big thing I take onto aeroplanes. Pen and a pencil. But I can stand up. And I can take that on an aeroplane and nobody takes it off me. Okay? And I can grab a stewardess by the head and pull her head back behind her, and I could hold that to her neck or her eye or her temple, and I could ram that home. I could shove it into her neck and kill her, in her eye, in the ear, a nice one, Sharpie point first, and I can say, fly me to Cuba now. And that ability for me to do that with a pencil or a pen or a biro or an ink pen, it just makes a mockery of everything else as far as airport security is concerned. Because there's only one sure way of making sure that the people that sit in the seats, the passengers of the aeroplane, are harmless, is to make them bare butt naked. And even then, some people are pretty good at fighting. They can snap your neck in a heartbeat. If I was that desperate. But to top it all, don't they? They give you plastic cutlery on aeroplanes in case you get violent. Well, I can get pretty violent with a sharp pencil or a pen if I rammed it in your eye or in your ear. And it would kill them just as effectively as a 6-inch, 10-inch Bowie knife. But the people in first class can have metal cutlery. Nah. Well, that is another stupid thing, isn't it? The people who make these rules, they're really... The truth is, the rules aren't designed to be logical. They're designed to piss us off. And it's just another way of the commie bastards, the communists, the fascists that run our world, make the rules just to piss us off and demoralise us. As though getting on an aeroplane isn't bad enough. It's the sheer bloody inconvenience now of having to go. I cannot stand flying anywhere anymore, including holidays. I don't do holidays anymore. I've grown out of them. The kids have left home, they can take themselves on holiday. I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. And I tell you what, I'd rather stay in bloody England than have to go through the torture again and again of airport travel, which I have to do for my work on occasions. Not all the time, but a few times, probably once every 5 weeks. That's enough for anyone, but I don't know how people cope day in, day out, because the people who make these rules don't fly cabin, standard airlines. They get Learjets parked outside with a black limo dropping them off. They bypass all this shit. The drug smugglers like the Clintons and things, they don't get all this crap. And the high-flying, the elites, they don't go through the same shit as the sheeple. It's designed to piss the sheeple off. That's all. There's no justification. There's no logic. And that's the irritation for me. There's no logic behind the decision. Grab a bird there or a puffy. Sorry, but I just don't do gay air stewards. All right. I just think they're men. They should get a proper job. Grab them by their head. Take me to wherever. With a bloody pencil. What sane person would want to go and kiddie fiddle every morning, fiddle around with kids? Well, they employ the special people to do this. The retards. They employ retards. I couldn't do that job of fiddling around with other people's bloody children. I think it's a sick society that forces us to do this. Well, that's what we've got as leaders, folks. They're psycho-sickos. We're run by the bloody nutters. It's the lunatics truly have taken over the asylum in this world. Any governing body now, it's a screaming joke, isn't it? They do it because they can. Well, thank Christ I've got over the business of having to drag the kids abroad for holidays. It doesn't matter, does it? I mean, flying is the only way out of town for us in Britain, because I can't stand going on a boat. I get seasick, and the smell of bloody diesel. Jug, 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 jug. I can't. No. Flying's the only way out of town for me. The train, oh man, don't get me to going about train travel in the UK. They sell too many tickets for the train spaces and seats available. And you know, how very dare they have first class and second class? For Christ's sake, for the amount of time that you're on a train, what does it bloody matter? You know, and the first class are twice the cost of a second class ticket. You know, and you can have a jam-packed second class cabin with no seats, people standing exhausted after the end of a bloody day, and 3 other first class carriages bloody empty. Or one fart who's getting it on expenses, usually a politician sat there on his own having his glass of wine and metal cutlery, and I want to smash him in the face when I see him. Or her. I think it's immoral. It's another way of being fascists. It's the haves and have-nots. But most people, most decent people, unless their company or tax people, you and me, are paying for their first-class rail fares. That's what they get. House of Lords all get first-class rail fare. They get a full English breakfast on anywhere they travel. Yes. Nice being a Lord or an MP, isn't it? All on taxpayers' money. Yeah. What a ridiculous situation. We have class on public transport. Class. And it's the same on aeroplanes. Business class, first class, plebs. And if that's not a Roman dictatorship, a bloody fascist dictatorship, I don't know what is. This is where we human beings are so bloody stupid and petty. Doesn't their shit stink in first class like ours? Of course it bloody does. Probably worse. Their morals certainly do. Half these tossers in first class, if they had to pay for their ticket themselves, they wouldn't bloody be there, so needn't come with all the graces and all the yars. Who paid for your flight ticket? Oh, the company. Oh, that means you can't afford it then. Oh, if it was down to me, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. But they're paying. Bloody hypocrites. Scrounging bastards. That's why you and I have to pay through the nose for many things in the shops, because we're having to fund the expense accounts of these tossers. That's what's wrong. You know, we need to rethink, and we put up with this. This is the irritation for me. We put up with this shit. Do you know, and I've said it before, and I'll say it in closing, that we are such, we are, as David Icke calls us, sheeple. We've got to go to work tomorrow. We haven't. But we all will, because we all think we have to. But if nobody turned up to work tomorrow, nobody, it'll be the what the f moment, wouldn't it? What do you think half the Prime Minister would be on the case? Oh, where is everybody? There's no one on the streets, there's no black cabs, there's no buses, and there's no work, there's no shops open, there's no factories, there's no things being... Where's everybody? They're at home. Where's all the... Where's everybody? You see, there are so few of those that control us, yet so many of us. It would be a breeze if everybody agreed and stopped being a bloody Nancy. And said tomorrow is National No-Go to Work Day for everybody in the United Kingdom. Come on, brothers and sisters, let's show them who's got the power. But somewhere in our history, folks, okay, historically, the politicians served us. But somewhere along the game, that flicked over. Now we take instruction from the politicians. At what stage did that happen? When they're making the decisions that we're going to war and putting our children and families in the danger zone. You'll notice that there's no politicians have children in the armed forces on the front line. There's none of the royals are on the front line in Afghanistan or Syria, is there? Oh no, not at all. It's your flesh and blood, not theirs. Thank Christ for them. This is something so wrong. What are you going to do about it? If we don't Brexit on time, keeping our money and telling them to do that, all right, we need to drive our cars onto the M25. Stop. Bang. Stop. Get out. Get your pasting tables out and have a nice cup of tea on your deck chair. Turned out nice again, hasn't it? What are you doing? I'm having a cup of tea. What are you doing? You see, if enough cars get around you because you block the way, lorries and cars and people having cups of tea, there's not that many gobbers to come around and shift a few thousand cars on the M25 who are having a cup of tea and a chat. To say, yeah, we're here all day actually, you got enough, yeah. Having a bit of a party. We could do it on the M25, north and southbound. We could do it on the M1, all the motorways. The arteries of our country. But we won't, will we? It's always got to be somebody else's problem. And until we recognise that their problem is our problem and we should work together, we're screwed. And the 1%ers know that. Because I'm surrounded, like you, with selfish bastards who think only of themselves most of the time. People are continuously, their self-talk is 99% self-talk. And thinking about what's in it for them. What is this going to affect me? Very, very few people are altruistic. That means they think about other people as well as themselves. No, we're all self-interested, selfish bastards. For the most part. Do as I say, not do as I do, merchants. Don't you just love them? They're the sort of people I'd have no hesitation in stuffing this pencil where the sun don't shine. Seen more air miles than I have this pencil, by the way. But it just shows you how easy it is for them to control us on stupid, irrational, stupid, pathetic laws made by some genius who calls him or herself a security specialist. I've met people who could kill you with one finger. Thunk! Gone. There are people out there with such skills. And yet they make such a big thing about stripping us off and embarrassing us and belittling us and inconveniencing us and stressing us out. And stress remains one of the reasons we're number one killer in our society in the United Kingdom. Stress is one of the biggest killers, and airport travel and public transport induces more stress in anybody than anything else I can think about. Talk about wanting to be far from the maddening crowd. No, I want to be far from the maddening enforcers of government bloody policy, especially as fascistic and communistic. Do I want to come back? Not a prayer. Catch you tomorrow, folks. Have a good evening.